Bäst före. När var man bäst före? Det var väl någon gång för länge sedan. Innan man blev minnessvag och innan man gick in i väggar eller in i tåg som körde över en. Eller då för tiden när man ännu kunde se allting i rött. I rosenfärger och naiv romantisering av allt som var fulare än vad man ville ha det. Då när man var ung, åtminstone då man var yngre. För nu blir man bara äldre hela tiden, vilket man ju aldrig blev förut. Det var väl då man var bäst före, innan man blev gammal, medan man ännu var allt för ung. We are all out of joint. As I dream of you, my love, you come to me in strange manifestations. I have even dreamt about your mother, although I did only meet her once. The care is infinite between us, not just for ourselves, but for our families. No matter how dispersed and shattered they are in all directions of the world, with usually aborted lives, which they claim all the same to be successes, while we are too down to earth for self-deception. But let all those tragedies and losses be, whose life is not a perfectly aborted failure, viewed objectively. We all end worse than even how we started, with a naked scream. And if we're lucky, we'll find love at least somewhere between, while the ultimate journey's end is always a most well-deserved release from all the things that always did go wrong, while we are free at least from the responsibility of trying to at least set something right. Sommarfrost. Kalla fötter får man av den kalla sommaren, där huvudvärken strålar neråt benen, så att mjältsjukan och gubbsjukan triumferar i trånande misärs erbarmliga melankoli, där solen strålar kallt på ödsligheten av ett antal ständigt mer förstörda liv. Vad kan man göra? Kärleken rann ut i slasken, spolades på toaletten och blev ej ens hackfärs, medan alla idioter bara går och sabbar allt vad man försöker göra, så att man blott känner för att dra och helst då något gammalt över sig. Så blir man bara äldre och bedrövligare, medan sommarvärmen utebliver skadeglatt och släpper fram förkylningarnas kedjereaktion som avlöser varandra generöst forsrännande, och man vill bara resa bort men har ej råd, då svenska kronan bara sjunker under isen. Så blir sommarens kalla fötter bara kallare, och sommaren går åt till smärtsam övervintring. Vad är kärleken till för? Om kärleken är något slags självplågeri med sjuklig lutning åt morbiditet, angår det inte mig, då kärlek ofrånkomligt bara måste existera och får ständigt komma fram på vilket sätt som helst. Det vanligaste är ju sex, på gott och ont, som dock befriar en och kan i viss mån innebära självförverkligande, medan det dock är påfrestande för nära relationer. Säkrare är kärleken som uttryck inom konsten, när man låter kreativiteten flöda ut i abstraktioner som ju faktiskt blott kan vara fördelaktiga, medan samtidigt det inte utesluter andra kärleksformer eller relationer. Medan andra låter kärleken kanaliseras religiöst och därmed höjer den upp till universell nivå, som givetvis dock inte utesluter något annat sätt. Kort sagt, all äkta kärlek är av godo och oemotståndlig, så blott ge dig hän åt den, för det är ju det enda den är till för. Stuck. As my heart melts into you, my love, with no end to its sweetness, filling up the world with beauty, coming out of our affection. There is nothing to resist our warmth, as we encompass the whole universe in one embrace and fit of perfect love. I wish to stay with you, within you, never to get out of this embrace, to leave the joy of staying inside you in ecstasy of bliss and happiness. So let's just keep within each other, never to let go of our counterpart, and thus we will remain united to enrich the world of love with our love. The power of longing. As long as there is something for you ardently to long for, you will keep afloat and flying in control of all your powers, for the longing is the surest symptom of the definite syndrome of love and life. I know the more you long, the more it is a torture, but I can assure you at the same time that the more you long, the healthier for you, since love is only wholesomeness and longing is its spiritual manifestation. Never be afraid of longing and of suffering for love, for there is no more certain evidence of manifested truth of life in absolute sincerity and honesty. The supreme paradox, the supreme self-contradiction as its own supreme self-evidence. You are always by my side, especially when you are not there. You are always in my heart, especially when it is broken and empty. You are always present in my life, especially in your absence. You are always in my focus, especially when I am out of my mind and all my senses are dead. You are always my one and only love, the force of which goes on increasingly, constantly, forever, the more we are distanced from each other. And thus our love goes on, increasing and expanding, the more it becomes impossible, thus proving the supremest paradox in proving itself by refuting itself. Let it be enough, and would I not love you with a bleeding heart of fountain inexhaustibility, that never could care more for you in self-denial unto self-annihilation, out of worship, adoration, and idolatry? That fire never will be quenched, nor leave me ever any peace, and I enjoy it. Let it be enough, I could not love you more, nor could it ever end. To the brave oppositions in Iran and East Turkestan, wasted and exhausted, it's a feat to lift your feet, while flapping broken wings is just a weary burden, and your heart of lead needs melting down to softer, lighter, and more pliable material, for more apt and healthy purposes than heavy broken hearts and heartaches. Let me sleep again and dream again of better worlds than all the lost ones, and I shall most gratefully reach out for any straw that Providence and mercy offers me from nowhere in the whirling stream that drags me down into the dregs of all this worldly mess, of universal violation of all human rights and freedom, which was all the health there ever was in mankind. The problem of the eternally beloved. Beethoven's eternally beloved has never been identified, for instance. Who is his love? Who has his heart? Is there at all an object that can be identified? There has been timeless speculation, sometimes endlessly, in certain literary lovers' seriousness. Could they have been but fantasies, or was there really someone, and in that case, who was she? If it remains unknown, how can we even know about the gender? I assure you, there was never any true love that was not concrete. If there was love that found expression in sincerity and honesty of words, then the loved one always was a person, and a certain person other than himself. And if he called her Beatrice, Laura, Fanny, or a secret and protected name, it is a matter of self-evident and obvious proof that she was clearly an identified and private person, never anything diffuse or general, and never just a fantasy. For true love is not love if it is not concrete, which every true and honest lover knows too well, and there was never any word against it. Problemet med den evigt älskade. Beethovens evigt älskade har aldrig kunnat identifieras, till exempel. Vem älskar han? Vem har hans hjärta? Finns det överhuvudtaget ett objekt som kan identifieras? Ofta har det spekulerats i oändlighet i vissa litterära älskares seriositet. Har det blott varit fantasier eller fanns det faktiskt någon, och vem var hon i så fall? Om det är okänt, vet man ens då vad det var för kön? Jag kan försäkra er att det fanns aldrig någon äkta kärlek som ej var konkret. Om det fanns kärlek som fann uttrycksfullhet i uppriktighetens nakna ord, så var det alltid en person, en viss person och någon annan än han själv. Och om hon hette Laura eller Beatrice, Fanny eller otalat skyddat namn, så är det självklart och bevisligen en klar identifierad och privat person och aldrig något generellt diffust och aldrig blott en fantasi. Ty äkta kärlek är ej kärlek om den inte är konkret. För det vet varje äkta älskare och aldrig kan det påstås något annat. Utschasad. Att hänge sig åt vild melankoli och sjunka ner till botten av en avgrund utan slut av bara vemodskrankhet efter en oändlighets besvikelser och bara törsta djupt ihjäl av allt man aldrig nådde fram till efter seklers självförbrukning fullständigt i onödan, är ändå att på något sätt nå fram till någon meningsfullhet i all meningslöshets intighet, om så det ändå blott till slut ej blev mer än en stämning. Sotto voce. Am I too intimate for you? Is that an outrage that insults you? Let me lower then my whispers to be even more inaudible, except for your ears only, and allow my touch to soften even unto mere vibrations, unperceivable except for your soul only, in the finest harmonies conceivable, that can be heard in silence only, in the voice of only purest love. Thus maybe I may touch and love you without ever hurting you, or trespassing too closely on your soul, too well aware of the extremest sensitivity that only the supremest, truest love is made of. Kärlekens mysterium. Vad är kärlekens kraftsinnersta mysterium? Är det att man älskar själv eller att en annan älskar en? Kommer kraften utifrån, från någon annan än en själv, eller är den inifrån och egen? Ingen vet. Det enda säkra är väl att man aldrig är helt ensam om den, att den måste vara dualistisk, ömsesidig för att kunna existera och fungera. Och då lutar jag åt det mysteriet att det är två själars samklang som det handlar om, som på något sätt har en kontakt utöver den materiella som tycks klart manifesteras när två själar har bestående kontakt fastän den fysiska kontakten saknas. Det är nog om något äkta kärlek som består i andra dimensioner än i bara tid och rum. The mystery of love. What is the inmost power mystery of love? Is it your own active love, or is it someone other loving you? Is this mysterious force an outside matter reaching you from others, or is it your own and private matter? No one knows for sure. The only certain thing is that you never are alone with it, that it must be a dual mutual thing to work and to exist at all. And then I lean towards the mystery that it is the communion of two souls that it is all about, that somehow reach a contact that is beyond the material, which seems obviously manifested when two souls remain in contact although they can't see each other. That, if anything, is probably true love, which carries on beyond all known dimensions, independently of space and time. Expressionism. Det viktigaste i all kärlek är att den blir uttryckt och att därför den är uttrycksfull. Allt kommer an på expressiviteten som är mera övertygande ju mera expressiv den är. Det största uttrycket i kärlek är dock i allmänhet det minsta. Viskningen kan säga mer än alla starka uttryck och domderanden. Liksom en stilla melodi uttrycker mycket mer. En megafon förstärkt elektriskt decibel. Där all volym är desto tomare ju högre upp den skruvas på. Mest uttrycksfullt av allt kan dock ren tystnad vara. Som i just det rätta ögonblicket säger mycket mer blott genom att den tiger än vad någonsin en dikt kan säga. Gubbsjuka. Låt mig vila ut i dina armar och få sträcka ut mig i din famn för att få bara slappna av från livets stressande förintelse av bara huvudvärk och hjärtattacker. Jag är blott ett gammalt vrak som ej begär just mycket mer än att få vitna mina ben i sanden efter ständig oro på de vilda oceanerna som ej hanterar någon bräcklig farkost väl. Jag kan ej mer gå ner i varv, ty inget varv kan mera fixa mig. Så uttorkad och undergrävd av parasitskeppsmaskar som jag är, som knappast har mer liv att uppvisa än gubbsjukans patetiska besatthet och fixering vid allt möjligt som förstör koncentrationen. Ack, en dröm om någon som man kunde lita på i motsats och kontrast mot alla svikare är allt jag har att ty mig till, men drömmen finns dock där. Och jag besvär den, låt mig vila ut i dina armar och få stanna kvar i illusionen av din famn, för det att äntligen få slappna av och slockna. Surreptitiously. The impossibility of our love is no impediment to its reality. We can deny it to the world, but never to ourselves. It is a fact of life, and though it brings much suffering, the joy of it is infinite, belonging to the zone of timelessness, a certain matter of eternity. So let it just go on in torment, agony, and sorrow, its beauty easily surviving vanity and every weakness of mortality, since in untouchable supremacy it simply never can give in. Timelessness. After some midnight discussions with Marco at Lungsnon, best greetings, Marco. Timelessness is actually the only time zone and the one we all should live in, now, tomorrow, and in all times past, neglecting nothing of a time responsibility for all that happens, all that ever happened, and all things to come. The individual responsibility is absolute, transcending the mortality of power and politics, dismally confined in private interests, while the individual mind of empathy and sense of decency is the supreme responsibility and motor of all welfare for mankind. The cue now for the future is cooperation, since what history now needs most urgently is a new age of international cooperation. The volatility of love. You fall in love and fall to wishful thinking that you found your life's ideal and offer her eternities of love in perfect willingness to sacrifice whatever until you are cheated and betrayed, deceived and brought to ruin by reality. Thus love seems just a fleeting thing, like a delightful dream of no more substance, but still love remains and drives you on. The very heart of love is to continue against all denial, spurring you to, after all, remain an obstinate idealist. And whoever falls to love, love never falls. Hope. I could cry out my eyes in flooding tears of blood for all my sorrows and lost loves. But still there is the possibility for beauty to, in spite of all, start triumphing again, since it was there once, true and honest, but you chose to just walk by and leave her as a fatally presumed impossibility. The formula is this: first do your duty and what's necessary, then do what is possible of all the things you want to do, and after that, quite natural accomplishment, you will find that all that's left for you to do is to break through and carry out the most impossible, for beauty never leaves us, but is always there, just waiting to appear again if she is bypassed, hibernating to just flourish, ever turning up again. The Magic of Manali. Manali is one of the most popular hill stations in India, at the foot of the Himalayas at 2,000 meters, with a very exotic cultural blend of its own. The friendly idyll of the snowy hills has something over it of deep intrigue, while nomads, outcasts, sadhus, hippies, trekkers and adventurers flock here to some of them remain for life, a sacred haven for the seekers, with exotic access to such places of notoriety as Manikaran and Malana up the Parvati, the Valley of the Lost, and those desiring oblivion, like all those pathetic Israelis after 3 years, heavy and traumatic military service, going on the loose here only to forget about the situation, like so many others here with their lost lives. There certainly are stories here to tell and to discover, and to learn concerning destiny and the whole situation of the definite predicament of all humanity. The nomad. Nothing can impede his freedom. He was born to roam and wander all his life, and lucky he to have that precious gift of being constantly in touch with the supreme divinity of freedom all his life, like being touched and ordained by eternity. And he is wiser than most civilized prisoners of cities spending all their lives in cubicles, since he never bargains with his freedom, his ideal of staying constantly in touch with nature, ever on the move and circulating with the universe to stop at nothing, since the only perfect freedom never knows of any bounds or any limiting dimensions. Departure. The sadness filling up the vacuum in the emptiness of your departed friends is like an endless melancholy abyss, too profound and overwhelming for expression, going deeper in your heart and soul than any physical expression can admit or show, the feelings draining you of energy and will, so far that even oceans of your tears will never water such a desert, and not even make a dwindling mud pool for relief to all your pains, regrets, and losses. but that hope remains, that your friends are still there and waiting for you in the future, for that golden moment to return of your most loving association. What about it? What about love, my darling? You tempt me so seductively and irresistibly, and I am all for it, but still there are misgivings of experience. So many times the truest love affairs went wrong, and the cliché happy ending is the falsest myth, since there always was what happened afterwards. So let me love you faithfully, but without ties. Let love be free and active on its wings, without any cuts and no enforcements, down to earth. And only so I certainly will love you and be constant ever in my faith in freedom. Bergtagen. Jag tappade förståndet och förlorade min själ uppe i bergen och kan inte få ner dem igen. Det kallar mig dit tillbaka, och det finns inget annat val än att återvända dit upp till bergen, där friheten ständigt kallar på din befrielse och håller kvar din själ i säkert oåtkomligt förvar tills du kommer tillbaka, upp dit till bergen, där en dag äntligen du kommer att finna din frid, där uppe bortom bergen, med ditt huvud bland molnen, högt uppe i det blå, där den yttersta friheten finns, långt borta, där uppe, bortom de högsta bergen. Spirited away, I lost my mind and soul up in the mountains, and cannot get them down again. They call for me up there, and there is no choice but to return, up to the mountains, where freedom calls forever for your liberation, holding there your mind and soul in safe and sacred custody until you return up there unto the mountains, where one day finally you will find your peace, up there beyond the mountains, with your head lost in the clouds of the ultimate freedom way up high beyond the tops of the mountains. Renewal. I was old and miserable and decrepit, worn out by too many sorrows, problems galore and worries without end. But someone came along, and it was you. The spiritual healing of such wounds that bleed to death inside the soul without an outer trace of anything is more miraculous than any other cure, than any medicine and wonder, and there was an urgent need of it. The question now is how to keep it up, maintaining this our new reunion without new mistakes and failings, without getting all dispersed, disintegrating into pieces. All we need is to keep up communication. That's the only lifeline which, when working, can accomplish any miracle and make all problems vanish, blissfully transformed into surmounted challenges. Frailty. Thy soul is all the treasure of your love and universal charm, the concentration of your beauty, irrevocable and irresistible, and unperishable as your heart, so full of only warmth and joy that can but last forever. Let me cherish you, but without touching you, inflicting never any harm or injury, but only watering your cultivation, as the most conscientious lover only would at any cost wage all on just preserving and aggrandizing the beauty of the everlasting moment of consummate love. Hestia, this enigmatic divinity, one of the 12 gods of ancient Greece, was the only one never to be depicted. Her symbol was instead the hearth. The unknown goddess almost never made a statue of, a silent, modest background figure staying quietly at home, and maybe the most vital and important of all gods and goddesses, for doing nothing but just being there at home in coziness, with warmth and candour by the fireplace, just keeping up the homely standard order, keeping clean and making the home comfortable. What could possibly be more important than the very base of life, a home to be at ease with and to be at home in? Still, she never made much noise, no scandals, no atrocities, no arguments, no love affairs, just being there as the continuous stability, the comfort of just being there at peace and keeping up the basics as the only ground for the existence of all humankind. Hestia, den okändaste av den grekiska antikens 12 gudomligheter, den enda aldrig avbildade, istället alltid framställd i hemhärdens tecken. Den okända gudinnan, aldrig presenterad som staty, en tyst och from försynthet, som representant för hemmets härd och kanske den mest viktiga av alla gudar och gudinnor, för att hon blott är och vad hon är. Där hemma, i varm innerlig intimitet, där allt som gäller är att hålla hemmet levande, fungerande och rent i ordning. Vad kan vara viktigare än att vidmakthålla denna grund för hela livet, någonstans att vara hemma och att alltid känna sig välkommen i? Hon gjorde aldrig något väsen av sig, ingenting utsvävande och vidlyftigt, inga tvister, bråk, skandaler eller kontroverser. Bara den kontinuerliga stabiliteten, tryggheten i att få leva sunt i fred och underhålla grunderna för all uppbygglig mänsklig verksamhet. Withering heights, when the devils attack me in the night, my only possible escape is you, while storms keep harrowing the countryside, wreaking havoc and destruction, threatening our lives with mortal danger. But my life is safe and beyond reach, and I'm with her in my dreams, untouchable to any mortal evil. And I wallow in my bliss and feast atrociously in my beatitude. More certain than I ever was before, no hubris ever can get even near to the sublimity of love's eternal consummation, that keeps constantly surpassing and transcending even all her previous endeavors of eternity.